I think this is the very first dongle from Aune. And if you are in Malaysia and you'll be interested to get this, the only one that carries this dongle, to my knowledge, is only Stars Speaker Audio Library. And if you see here, which is already listed, just listed in the Shopee Malaysia, on Star Speaker website here, it is priced at 789 Malaysian ringgit, and internationally that would translate into US dollar 170. So this is a premium dongle. So let's just quickly have a look at the build, the construction, and the configuration of this Aune Yuki. All right, so this is yet another Cirrus Logic dongle becoming exceedingly popular since the last 2 or 3 years, okay? But this one is using the more premium version of the Cirrus Logic, which is CS43198 in dual configuration. So you're gonna get 2 DAC. And what's special about this Yuki is that how it differs from the rest of the other dongle. Let me just show you this, okay? It claims to have this discrete sort of configuration, which means that the analog stage, the amplifier, the red one, as you can see here, are being placed on a different board, and then the DAC itself, which is placed on a separate board. So there's a clear distinction between separation between the analog and the digital stage, and the amplifier itself. Let's just have a look at the configuration again here. It is a 4-way discrete balance amplifier. So what does it mean to normal people like us? Okay, you see, when we talk about balance amplifier or balance DAC, most of the time dongles like even this Ibaso DC04 Pro or most other 4.4, they are not exactly discrete, which means that they operate in two separate channel, okay, but not exactly dual mono sort of approach. So they are in fact kind of like, I would even say, not a real balance in a way the power are being distributed. But Yuki, by claiming to have this discrete separation between the two amplifier, left and right, it is behaving pretty much similar to full size DAC M sort of performance, okay? And when it comes to resolution, again, one of the reason that this CS43198 is a bit more premium than CS43131 is that because it resolve a bit more up to PCM 768 kilohertz and with 32-bit and capable of DSD256, okay? Now, let's just have a look at the power rating itself. The power is rated quite moderate, I would say, right? As the number suggests there, 160 milliwatt from the 4.4 mm balance and 90 milliwatt only from the 3.5 mm single-ended. But we'll talk more about that later, okay? And as usual, you can expect that this Yuki to be offering at least 4 VRMS of power from the 4.4 and 2 VRMS of power from the single-ended. Signal to noise ratio. So how silent is this Yuki? So this is kind of a bit weird because most of the time manufacturer like to publish their signal to noise ratio in SNR of dB, decibel, but instead Yuki only publish 2.6 microvolt and 2.9 microvolt. Now, I will not pretend that I can explain to you what it means, but I can only say that this, during my testing with this super sensitive Truth Ear Nova, which I am reviewing right now, okay, this thing is rated at 14.8 ohm, very low impedance with sensitivity of 123 dB. One of the easiest, if not the easiest, IEM to drive, and this thing can pick up floor noises very easily, okay? Especially because considering that it is a hybrid with 4BA 1DD, and I'm happy to say that I am not hearing any kind of floor noises even when subjected to playing some of the more silent music that I have in my collection. So no floor noise, okay? And let's just have a look at the hardware itself, closer look. This thing is just simply beautiful, okay? I am not a fan of white color, but somehow I'm finding myself kind of like growing quite fond with the presentation of the aesthetic of this Yuki. First, you have here the typical USB Type-C female, okay? And when I attach this lovely cable here, which is also included in this box here, right? It is very solid, no movement at all. And at the back here, you will see that you can see the content of the amplifier itself. The red port means the amplifier stage. And this Yuki comes in a very simple feature, but important one, the most important, which is independent volume adjustment. The two buttons that you see here, on the left side is the up volume and the right side is the down volume, 100 step. I have confirmed that. Because this dongle, like I always mention, like a broken record by now, repeating myself again and again, cannot be judged on its own. You can only judge it by what you attach it to. Okay, so in order to get the best accurate representation of sound coming from this Yuki, the primary testing equipment which I have used is here, this Kinera Idun Golden again. And the reason that I'm using this Kinera Idun Golden because this is the most transparent, neutral, uncolored IEM in the market right now, other than Atimotic ER2SE or Atimotic ER4SR, which I also use here. Okay, both of them. So these two IEM would be able to tell me exactly how does this Yuki sounds like without any kind of coloration or flavoring from the driver itself. And then of course, throughout my testing, I am not limiting myself. I tested it with Tanjim Zero, of course, as usual. And then my favorite here, I spent quite a lot of time as well running on this Sivga Nightingale, my favorite magnetic planar now. And another of my favorite magnetic planar here, which is Hidis MP145. And last but not least, the IEM that I really enjoy, which is Final Audio A5000. Okay, so now let's just proceed with the sound and performance itself. Just gonna share you this, all right, so that it will be concise, easy. I just like to, make it as simple as possible. I don't want to waste too much of your time. All right, so let's talk about the dynamic presentation. Okay, this Yuki is definitely something which I would consider as mature sounding. Okay, it is airy as it is smooth. Okay, it is analytical and musical at the same time. So this is the sort of sound which I love. Simple. Okay. Dynamic extension, definitely excellent. At this price point, with the kind of tuning that it offers, you can expect far-reaching dynamic extension, especially when I test it with this MP145 or even this Fostex T40 Mark III here, which I was able to hear the deepest depth of bass resolution, reach, and decay, especially with this Fostex, because this guy have such a deep extension of bass. And for the treble itself, MP145 and even A5000, would show me the sort of how far it reached for the extension itself. So when it comes to the sound timbre, another very important one, as I noted there, analog and organic. Okay, so if you are familiar with my review, my sound preference has always been analog and organic. So I just gonna put it this way, I love the kind of sound timbre coming from this Yuki, because it reminds me a lot to some of my favorite dongle, which I will show you later in comparison stage. So let's talk now about mid-range, treble, and bass. Again, I'm just gonna bring back this Kinera Idun Golden. Okay, the reason that I'm bringing back this Kinera Idun Golden is that because I want to describe how transparent or how uncolored this Yuki is as a deck. Okay, I am not hearing any kind of coloration, be it from the upper frequency, from the lower frequency, or even the mid-range itself. It is, as listed there, linear neutral. Okay, so now let's talk about the sound stage itself. As noted there, wide open. Okay, this is pretty much almost expected out of a very well-tuned Cirrus Logic deck nowadays. Okay, we already have very wide sounding dongle like this Ibasso DC04 Pro here, or even say some other like Akliam PD4 Plus. And not surprisingly, this Yuki, in fact, sounded slightly a bit wider to my ear, even when tested with this Sennheiser HD 600, okay? And this Hidis MP145. The sort of sound that I'm hearing is that, first, it is airy, very airy. It is open, flowing, smooth. And the transient, the way it flows itself, is just like, kind of like, most of the time, especially when I use the Sivga Nightingale, it sounded more like an earbud rather than IEM. So that is really good. Okay, so let's talk about some of the technical details, resolution. So how does it resolve details, macro and micro detail? Rest assured, right? If your partner is competent enough, like this Kinera Idun Golden, you're gonna get all the details, all right, from this Yuki. Details is there, but the way it present it is never offensive. It will never splash it into your face kind of presentation, because the presentation, like I say earlier, relates very much to the sound timbre itself, which is smooth and always flowing. So there's no sharp edge sort of imaging being offered here, but the resolution is there. So definitely I would say that it is definitely excellent. Okay, and now let's talk about power drain. When attached to my phone, which is Xiaomi Mi 90, somewhere around here, another impressive thing about this Yuki, it was able to score 10 hours driving this Tanjin Zero here, okay, from 100% to perhaps around 3%, okay. So, and that is running on this 4.4mm balance. So that is definitely impressive, considering that pretty much a similar type of dual CS 43198, which I recall that was Moondrop Dawn. No, sorry, Moondrop Moon River 2. It was able to score less than 8 hours, or probably around 7 to 6 hours only. But this is definitely an improvement over that Moon River 2. Okay, both of them uses the same deck. Okay, and let's talk now about driving power. Now this is very important as well. Let me just bring back this 3 headphone here. Okay, one of the key thing is that, okay, when I attach it to this Sennheiser HD 600 here, you would notice that my Sennheiser HD 600 runs on balance port here, okay, like that. I just gonna put it this way. When I compare it side by side, you see this Burson Audio Playmate 2, which is my full size desktop, my reference. This thing runs at around 2005 milliwatt of power at 32 ohm, okay. And this thing is very low rating power, as you would seen earlier. Surprisingly, I am honestly, truthfully surprised that the sound quality, the authority of the sound itself, right, the dynamic presentation of that I am hearing from this Sennheiser HD 600 coming from this Yuki closely match with what I'm getting from Burson Audio. Perhaps if I were to be being critical, right, trying to differentiate, what are the differences. Of course, ultimately, I would say that Burson Audio Playmate to offer a bit more of crispness with the imaging, because the focus of this Burson Audio Playmate tuning is that, the crispness, the solidity of the macro details. This one would appear slightly softer. But then, for it to even compete with something like this is crazy good, okay? It's like mind-blowing. And of course, another thing about driving power, if you love magnetic planar like me, like this, I have this MP145, Sivga Nightingale especially, okay? And this Fostech T40 Mark III, and this Takstar HF580, I would even say that openly declare this is the most suitable dongle for magnetic planar. Okay, the reason is that, it really enhance, or should I say, it really makes this MP145 bloom to the fullest potential, as if I were connecting it to like, full size desktop DAC amp from the 4.4mm balance. Okay, and talking about this two port here, I am happy to say that I have tested this, both 3.5mm and 4.4mm balance with the Sennheiser HD 600. I would even say that, as noted there, the volume itself required by this Yuki to drive that HD600 is at around just 45 out of 100 from the 3.5mm single-ended, okay? And while the sound is usable, the loudness is usable, it does appear slightly soft with the imaging, okay? And I get definitely the best result if I were to use the 4.4mm balance. And as noted there, synergy factor, very flexible, as expected from any great sounding DAC amp, because this thing is neutral, does not add any kind of coloration. What you hear is what you get of the sound signature of the partner attached. I have shown you just now how many IEM I have used and how many headphones. All of them retain their sound signature. Okay, so the last note there, 3.5mm and 4.4mm equally good. Okay, Assuming that you are only using something like this, again, highly sensitive IEM, efficient, switching between these two, probably you will not hear any kind of difference, okay? The difference is only evident when you start subjecting it to more demanding stuff. This is how it looked like. Aone Yuki rated and compared against the rest of the competition. Very easy for me to love this Yuki, okay? I just gonna put it bluntly up front. Okay, it is definitely a 5-star rated dongle. With the sound dynamic presentation, I give it a 10. Tone and timbre, I love it, I give it a 10. Sound richness, just slightly less rich than in comparison when compared directly with this FC6 here, or even DeckPod HD, or even Colorfly CDA M1P. Does not mean that it is lean, it is already rich sounding, but not exactly as rich as how I'm hearing it from this FC6, okay? And when it comes to technicalities, perfect 10 as well, no issue. Driving power, perfect 10 as well. Like I mentioned, I am not hearing any kind of struggle. In fact, this Yuki was able to operate marvelously with all these headphones that you see here. So at least what I'm hearing, my listening ability, I am very satisfied with the kind of power output from this Yuki. And synergy factor, perfect 9. Okay, almost perfect. And then volume management, 9 as well. Independent volume adjustment. Compare against this DC04 Pro here. Pretty much the winner of last year award for being price to performance ratio performing dongle. And both of them are Cirrus Logic. This one is CS43131. This one Yuki is 43198. I would even say that both of them exhibit similar sort of sound presentation, okay? When I compare them side by side, perhaps the only differences which I started to pick up is when I subject this Yuki to driving a bit more of demanding partner. Like I mentioned earlier, again, I would say this, if you have magnetic planar, I would have found that Yuki is the better partner for magnetic planar as opposed to DC04 Pro. Not to say that DC04 Pro is not good, okay? We are talking about minor minute differences here among two top performers, all right? Other than that, they are pretty much similar. And perhaps I would even say that due to the discrete amplification offered by this Yuki, right, it does sound slightly a bit more open, a bit more wider with the sound stage itself, especially when I use it with this MP145 or even Sivga Nightingale. And this is how it looked like. Timbre signature or sound signature for this Aone Yuki. As you can see there, it hovers very closely to analog territory. And looking at it, it is pretty much on par to Ibaso DC Elite, which I have reviewed recently, and also Kayin RU7, RU6, and also, let me see, just the two of them, okay? So, if you want analog sounding, smooth analog sounding dongle, Aone Yuki is one of the dongle which I would recommend. For the last 2 years, the development and the improvement of dongle tech has improved a lot to a point that if you have seen my closure for 2023, there's no bad sounding dongle per se, okay? Because there's already a good tuning platform which is common, especially among Cirrus Logic dongle deck. They are already great sounding off the bat. It requires a bit of tuning here, tuning there, and implementation to make them different. The X factor. So what is the X factor for this Yuki? If you ask me, one of the reasons, the biggest appeal of this Yuki is how it pairs with magnetic planar, especially magnetic planar.